Good afternoon, Father Tony.
Jake.
Thanks for being with us. So I first wanted to start off with what's the actual bill that the ACT government is introducing? What does it entail?
Lot of words. It's called the Sexuality and Gender Identity Conversion Practices Bill, and it has two dimensions to it.
So what are those two dimensions that are out?
Somebody who's same-sex attracted. The bill's trying to outlaw the fact that if they came to a counsellor or someone else even in the community and they tried to convince them to be otherwise, outlawed.
Wow. And so what's the second part of the
Second
bill?
one is if you're into gender dysphoria and the person is expressing gender dysphoria, you're not allowed to suggest to them that they might want to wait before they go into the big task of gender transitioning.
Okay, so maybe
that will be an offence.
Okay, so maybe we'll touch on the first bit that you talked about then. So the sexual orientation, what does that actually entail? What are they trying to ban here?
Yeah, there's a thing called sexual reorientation therapy. It was big probably in the 70s and 80s or a bit before that. And so they're trying to say, well, no one is allowed. We have to accept people who have a sexual orientation, whether I suppose it's heterosexual or homosexual, but you can't be seen or be involved in trying to reorientate a person's sexual orientation.
To give an example, if I was a parent of a young child that was experiencing gender dysphoria and they were not comfortable, if they were a boy and they wanted to become a girl, would I not be able to, under this legislation, make them be more comfortable with being a boy?
Well, the legislation is very ambiguous. It talks about treatment and then practices, which is a very unusual way of putting it. And so a lot of the commentators, a lot of the very good legal minds are saying this is very, very loose. And this means that a parent who's having a conversation and counselling their child not to act too quickly could be fined $24,000 or 12 months in jail, which means they're going to be separated from their kids. So the import of the legislation is actually worse than they thought.
Yeah, okay. So, but don't parents and carers and the people around them have a right and a responsibility in their own lives to be able to impart that sort of stuff?
And there's so many instances in society where we do that. And we say that children are not mature enough to make these decisions. They can't have alcohol, they've got to go to school, they can't drive a car till they're 16, they can't have elective surgery unless their parents give permission. So the whole thing contravenes a whole lot of laws and customs that are part of Western civilization.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of really trying to change the precedent that's already been set in the past.
Very much so.
Obviously, it's a very controversial thing. So how much consultation was actually done with this bill? Do you know?
Very little. The ACT government was very selective. They chose about 16 groups, I think. The Catholic Church was not one of them, neither was Catholic Education. So it was very selective. So within the space of 2 days, we suddenly find the legislation is going to go through on Thursday.
Wow. So that is quite difficult to hear, considering that there's over 150,000 Catholics within the Canberra community, and there's
163,000 Catholics, 56 schools with about 21,000 students, about 10 nursing homes and hospitals. It's a big show.
Wow. If I or other people around in the community have misgivings about this, what can they practically do?
Oh, well, get on your bike and get to your local member and speak to them and write to them, email them, ring them and say that you're very concerned about this, that the care for children and vulnerable people is at risk.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much, Father Tony. Pleasure. So Father Tony is the Vicar General within the Archdiocese of Canberra-Goulburn, and thank you for being with us here today.
Pleasure.